So, a longer podcast. The BS of Vulnerability. Is it overused? Is it overrated? Well, we're going to talk about it. But here's the real thing. It's not out there. It's in here. What? Yeah. It's when you get this, you'll be totally responsible and empowered for creating the life you really do deserve. That good, rich life you really do deserve. Please just take a moment or two. Set your intention to listen and learn and then use this learning. It would be awesome if you did. I'll meet you on the other side of this.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Cloughie. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
What is it about vulnerability, my friend? What is it? Because there is something about vulnerability that no one else tells you. And I'm going to. Hey, good to see you. It's Paul, your friend. And this is the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. And we're going to talk about vulnerability. I have a conversation, I think, because there is something, as I said, about vulnerability that no one ever tells you. Some say the word vulnerability is overused. And sometimes it is for like clickbait. And some like to say that because they want to appear different. So maybe it's overused. I don't think so. Not when it's used in the right context. And the thing is, being vulnerable isn't any less powerful just because people say it's overused, or you don't need to use the word because those people just want to appear different. Vulnerability is still superbly powerful. Now, you see, some people would say you're not authentic unless you're really vulnerable. And the thing about that is, I don't know if you've been with those people. Some people will give you deep questioning straight away and you go, whoa, this is a little bit, I don't want to show my vulnerability. But there'll be other people who will tell you their deep secrets maybe from the get-go. And again, that can be too much because I think it's too much information sometimes because maybe you're expected to reciprocate. And I think sometimes that can be a jump too far. But it's a jump worth taking soon. But as we say about jumping, it's sometimes you need to go, instead of trying to jump over the whole river in one go and not get it, you need to just wander up the river a little bit to find those stepping stones where you can cross and jump. But some will say being vulnerable to somebody will create a deeper rapport. And the thing is, maybe that's right too, if that's what the other person likes. If they don't, there's no rapport. Just like I said, if that means you feel uncomfortable, you will switch off. You're not going to go there. You're going to say that person is too intense. That's like being a wigwam and a teepee. Too tense. So bad. So bad. But yeah, there's no rapport if that other person is switching off. But when it does have that level of rapport that is matched on both sides, with that vulnerability being, in balance, in harmony with each other, it creates a real deep connection. So sort of true-ish, isn't it? Sort of true. But sometimes though, I think, we can sugarcoat our vulnerability to make it seem not necessarily better than it is, but maybe better than it is. But it's more a case of making things look either more vulnerable than you really are or less vulnerable than you really are because it's not telling the truth, because it's being sugarcoated for whatever reason, I don't know. But I do know when you do that, it really won't create that deep level of rapport, that deep connection. But, and here's the thing, yes, there is a but. I don't like using but, I like using and, but here's a but. And because I want you to really talk about and have that deep connection. Talk about you. Get that deep connection, because when you have a deep connection with somebody else, I think it can be so cathartic. It can be bonding in a good way. And it can make a whole difference to you and the other person. Some might even say there's a healing quality to it. And I think sometimes there is, because when we share like that, we talk about, or I talk about, and I know you get it now, this integrated field of learning. When we put it out there, somehow it does resonate. And then that connection comes together. But the thing is, I wrote a little meta thing down here. The truth is not out there. It's in here. And another little side note I said, or wrote down, was stop ducking and diving. Because I think we need to be authentic, honest, with truth and true caring, even love. And that's a bit soppy, I know, but I don't think it is that soppy if you put it in the context of with the person who needs to be authentic, with the person who needs to be honest, true, and caring, with love. Do you know who that person is? To who? Who should be this vulnerable, authentically vulnerable? Have you got it yet? I think you got it. It's ourselves, isn't it? You for you, me for me. And it sounds so blooming easy, doesn't it? Just be vulnerable with yourself, and some people will say that, just be vulnerable with yourself. But then you have to ask yourself, well, why haven't I been vulnerable with myself? Why haven't I done that? Why don't we do it? And I say we, because I'm guessing, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't do it. But for me, a little personal bit here, when I get vulnerable with myself, and when I have in the past, and I know I will in the future, sometimes bloody hurts. That's why. That's why I don't like doing it sometimes, because it bloody well hurts. But why does it hurt? And I don't even like asking the question why sometimes, because we just get beliefs sometimes from a why. But it does hurt. But when we are brave enough, we stop ducking and diving. We get responsible for asking questions of ourselves, to be vulnerable. That's when we become at cause. And I think we become responsible at cause. And it creates a great deal of empowerment, because when you really look at it, that pain, I say it hurts, but it doesn't hurt for very long. But it's not the nicest thing to see in yourself. And that's why I think you need to be vulnerable to yourself with truth and honesty. Because if you don't, there's no bloody point really, is there? What's the point of being vulnerable to yourself if you're going to tell yourself fibs? Now, here's the thing. And this thing about, being honest and truthful with ourselves. Here's an example I see over and over again. When I'm working with a client, my very first question, generally the very first question is, why are you here? What do you want to achieve? How do you want to be? And they'll tell me, well, I don't want this, I don't want that. And I'm starting to say, well, okay, you don't want this, you don't want that. How do you want to be? And sometimes I even get, I don't really know, because I've had this issue for so long, I can't think of how I want to be. But we get there. We'll find that. But the thing is as if I think the term is we use in the UK is go around the houses. And I always know there's something else. So what I always do, and it is an always, because even if it's just a double check, I'll just put them into a light trance and get them to ask their unconscious mind. It's the very first question I get them to ask their unconscious mind. Why am I really here? What haven't I said? What do I really need or want to change? And I get them to, as you say, ask your unconscious mind. And when you get it, listening with all your senses, tell me what you get. And 99.99999 times out of 100, boom, there's that one word, or there's one emotion that strings all those other things together, but it's so subtle, it's just below the surface. And that's the real reason. And I think sometimes that's when the tears come, by the way. If there's any tears, it's like tears of release. I've actually said it out loud. Because I think sometimes it's only ever scary when we don't admit it. And these people, these lovely people, these clients of mine have to admit it out loud to me within the first few minutes of our very first session. But when they do, we talk about it and we realize, it's been walked around, talked around, hidden. When they get it, the whole session takes a brand new dimension. And we know what type of solution we're looking for now, because we know that when we address that, because it's an unconscious answer, it's coming from your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is a guy, lady, person, thing, whatever your unconscious mind is to you. I just call it your best friend, doing it for a wonderful reason. But when they do that, we can now work with their unconscious mind, work with your unconscious mind to that solution. I mean, back to me or you. I'll give you another me. I am sharing a lot. When I'd gone through my little darkest time, and it wasn't little, it was long. It's horrible, really horrible. And I did lots of work, and I've written a book about it, and that's soon going to be coming out shortly, and I'll tell you the details of that later. Not necessarily this podcast, 'cause I've just recorded the last hypnosis track for it, but that's aside. A couple of things happened. One is, I did a process with my younger son. He guided me through it. I didn't give him any content because I didn't want to burden him with any of his feelings. Dad doesn't share his feelings like that. I didn't want to. Silly, absolutely stupid, but I didn't want to. Didn't think it was right. But I did this process and I did feel better. And then the following day, I felt absolutely total crap. I was useless to anybody. Felt horrible. And even my son came in and said, "Dad, do you want to do some more work?" And I said, No. I got to sit with this. I've got to do some mundane work on the computer, and I'm just going to let this process. And as it was processing, and it's come up a couple of times since then, I noticed when I just stopped and went inside on that feeling, it was a feeling of being totally guilty. And where I was in my place, certainly in that first time, I couldn't get it. I did not get it. Why should I feel guilty? I didn't think I had any bloody reason to feel guilty whatsoever. There's a lot of bloodies in there, but hey, I just didn't feel it. But since then, as I said, that has come up again and again. And it was like my unconscious mind is knocking me. Give me this thing saying, "Cloughie, just bloody listen for a minute." Guilt. And I realized, I had to take responsibility because I was guilty. Not in total. I didn't think even half, but I guess I must have been, because I was part of the problem. I had to be part of the problem because I was there. So I had to be doing something. Maybe just in the early stages. I know I tried to change things, but it didn't work. But I had to accept or acknowledge that there was some guilt on my part. And then I could work through it. And then since I've worked through it, it doesn't come up anymore. So you can see that, it's not the nicest thing to do sometimes. Sometimes it's a bit shocking. Not in a shocking type of way, but it just knocks you off your centre. And I think some ways it's supposed to knock you off your centre. So you can acknowledge that and say, brilliant, good. As Jocko Willikin would say, to anything that comes along that you're not prepared for, you go, good, because this is going to make me better. Because you can explore it. And that's when you become really vulnerable to yourself. Because you explore it. Some people might see that this is one of your failures. This was a weakness of yours. But my answer to that is just get over yourself. Get out of the way. No one else is looking. It's not a failure. It's not a weakness. It's a point of learning, and it's your unconscious mind telling you, let's go through this. You're in the right place, the right time to do this. And I think that's where the stopping and pausing come from. It helps so much when you're doing this type of work, just to be there. Get your mind map out. Anyway, what is this about? How do I, you might say, well, I haven't really got those big things that you've gone through, Cloughie. Well, maybe you have, maybe you haven't. If you have, this will work. It will certainly help. And if they're big things, you know what I always say, go one-to-one as well. What's going one-to-one? Go to one-to-one with a therapist. Someone like me. They like me, I like you. But someone like me, I believe that someone who has or is a bloody good hypnotist, a bloody good master practitioner or practitioner of NLP, master practitioner of timeline therapy, someone like that, and the other processes. They would be awesome to help you through this if there's a particular area of your life that you need to work through. Because once you've worked through, you can share it. And that's being vulnerable because you've dealt with it. But you have to be vulnerable to yourself. And that's like I say, when you go back, and if that therapist asks you why you're here, and then go inside and ask that question, you find the real answer. And you can find that with yourself, but I think one-to-one. But the thing is, okay, that's a particular thing. And by the way, I'll just interject there and interrupt myself. If you do have a particular thing and you want some help with that, which will either support that one-to-one or some type of help with it, let me know the type of issues that's giving you this, taking your mind off things, or where you're getting this little reminder from your unconscious mind. Tell me what that, and I'll come up with a process to ease you into it, through it. Do my very best, you know that. But if you haven't got a real biggie, but you know you want to be vulnerable, before you are, just have a little look, and you want to be vulnerable to other people, and be true and honest, and be the real self, sing from your own voice, and all those wonderful memes. I think what you can do is just look through areas of your life. We used to have that wheel of life where you have a circle, you divide up into little segments, and each segment is a different context of your life. So it could be your physical, your health, it could be your relationships, it could be your work, your career, it could be your mental, your emotional, your spiritual. Any part of your life you could start to look at and notice where they're not at 100%. And I don't believe hardly any of them will be at 100%, because that's where if you're at 100%, I think you're not telling the truth, because we can always improve. But the ones which are lower than the others, maybe that's the area you need to go to, just to notice that you can then be vulnerable with yourself to find maybe the emotion there that's stopping you. Where'd that come from? What's the limiting belief? Or what, I'm going to say it's limiting, but what's the belief there that's not allowing you to get that higher, richer? That's why it's a limiting belief, because it's limiting your progress, development. Where'd that come from? Our beliefs come from all over the place. And you can ask yourself, is that belief true? And you might say, of course it's true, because I believe it. And then you go, how do you know it's true? Oh, that's a bit more difficult. And that's when you can stop and pause and go through each one of these. Maybe, what goals have you set but you haven't achieved yet? So I wonder what's stopping you there. Maybe you've got goals that you haven't started yet. So again, where's the emotion there? Is there a negative emotion? Something when you go below the surface, you go, oh, that's probably a reason why I'm not really hitting those goals and developing and stretching myself the way Cloughie says. And I know is right. What's the belief I have about myself or this thing? It's limiting me. So is it true? How do I know? Where did it come from? Because when you understand some of those, it disappears because you learn from them. It's all about learning. Or you could, like with my clients, just ask inside, what's the one thing that if I explored and learned from will make the most difference to me and my life? Great question. Or something similar to that. What do I really want, and what haven't I been vulnerable? What I haven't admitted to myself that I need to deal with first? You can come up with a wonderful question, and it's a matter of just sitting quietly with your unconscious mind. I say to my clients, and I try it myself, and I have to say try, I hate the word try, but it's, okay, strive is a better way. I strive to do it. And that's to listen with all your senses. Because sometimes we ask a question with our own voice, we expect a voice to come back. Because we've asked auditory, so we expect an auditory answer. But sometimes you'll get a feeling, kinesthetic. You'll get an emotion, feeling. You'll maybe get a memory. Maybe there's a word at the tip of your tongue. Why do I want to say this word? That's the answer to the question. So when you listen to all your senses, then you write it down. Now, you could write it down in a journal. You don't have to write about in the journal about it too deeply, but you could use that as the form of a mind map maybe, or just explore it on a separate page of a journal and ask questions about that. And if you remember what I shared with you a little while ago, I think I shared it with you. It might have been on a live Q&A call I did for my son's masterclass. And one of the things I used to do was ask a question and leave it to my unconscious mind, which works with the right intention. But I think I was like trying to dodge it, duck and dive, because I would ask a question saying, well, when the answer's ready to come, it'll come to me, but I'm going to get on with my work. But now what I do is I have a separate little book and I mind map things, and I will ask questions in that mind map, and I'll stick some little lines away which are empty, so they're waiting for answers. But I will also wait and notice what comes up in my mind and put that down. Could be random. It looks random until they come together. And then you get that flash of the bleeding obvious. So a lot of times I will just sit with my mind map book, write the questions down, and then just notice what comes up. But I stay with it. If I haven't got time, then I will ask that question, let it go inside, get on with my day, but knowing that I'm going to come back to it. Because when I come back to it, I expect to be able to find the answers. And then when you mind map them, as I say, you generally get a flash of the bleeding obvious, see the answer, and now I can strive to work to let it go, looking at that limiting belief, knowing that it's not really true because it came from somewhere. I can't prove it. I don't have the data. But what would be a better belief that would support me and my values? And what belief would, when I say support me, it's not just something like this, a little mantra of, I'm trying to think of the right word now, but I just wouldn't keep writing them over and over again and try to force it into my unconscious mind. But I'd wait for the right type of belief to come up and go, this would help. And I just write it down once and look at it. Notice what emotion is attached to that wonderful positive belief. And then I might just go and visualize it. See myself out there doing it. Asking my unconscious mind to learn and access all the resources I need to achieve this and let it go. Then I might journal it. Listen to a hypnosis track. Or just go out and live it. Sometimes we need a bit of confidence to do that as well. Because it does take need a little, big kahunas, some balls to do this stuff. As I say, when I first did this, I didn't like it because it did hurt, but hurt for a moment. And it was like, I'm through this. I'm here for the long run. No one's going to scare me off. And this is like your unconscious mind goes, yeah, then you're strong enough, Cloughie. Come on in. And if you need that confidence, and it might be that it's confidence, that's all you need to change those areas of your life. How could you get that confidence? Oh, I've got a program for that. And the whole episode was for this. No, it wasn't. But that was my very last note of what you could do. Supreme Inner Confidence Program. And it's inner confidence to help you clear away the past. Notice where that confidence is in the now, and then go for it in the future. And you have to be vulnerable to do it as well, because you're working with you on you. And it's a sort of one-to-one, isn't it? Because I'm giving you the hypnosis tracks. You have to do a little bit of work in your head just to commit, set that intention. And there's a massive discount. It's 40%. All you have to do is put in PDU 40. When you go to the checkout page, you get 40%. Get more than that if you've signed up to the hypnosis tracks. Say that every time. And then join the others to have supreme inner confidence. Change yourself. And even if it wasn't total supreme inner confidence you need, that supreme inner confidence will help you to dive deeper into those issues. It'll be amazing. So let's recap. If we were to recap, we will recap. See, I always have a little note saying, why is this important to you? And why is it important to me? And I just felt, well, we all need this. All right, everyone, you and me, We all need to be vulnerable, but not just vulnerable to other people first. We need to be vulnerable to ourselves, to be authentic. Another word that's bandied around a little bit too often, but if you're authentic in your vulnerability, that means you are going to be honest, you are going to be true, you are going to be caring, you are going to be careful and loving to yourself, and explore these things. Acknowledge them and explore. And that's when you do that little wheel of life, or spokes and wheels and whatever. All those different areas and contexts of your life will get better. Because as you bring up one, I guarantee you it will bring up others without you even working on them. We always say you will never know how far the ripples of change will go. And it's like a circle. They will bring up other areas into another level. Confidence goes everywhere, not just in the one section you were unconfident about. You just get more and more competently confident. So yeah, confidence in yourself. And I said, I've entitled this the BS of Vulnerability. And the only BS really is when I first started, where I was saying some people say it's overused because they want to be different. Or some people use it a little bit too much first off without looking at themselves. That's the BS part. When you do it with yourself, the two of you, consciously and unconsciously, I just know you're going to make massive changes to your life. And when you make massive changes in your life, you become the change you want to see in yourself and the change you're going to see in others, not want to see in others. They just happen. They're going to get it because they're going to see what's possible, because you're going to be that wonderful example of what is possible. And when you do it with yourself, that's going to give you the confidence to do even more, because you're going to say to yourself, even if you don't say it out loud, and you should do, I did that. I'm bloody awesome. I can do that. It's okay. I'm okay. Bring it on. Let's go and find something else to stretch into. Let's go beyond this edge of my comfort zone, my familiar zone. Because when we go out there, boom, it gets even better and bigger. Life becomes really rich, colourful, and you start to live with more passion. You tend to have even if it's not conscious, you have an unconscious vision of where you're going, where you're headed. And your unconscious mind is going to then access the resources, the beliefs, the values, the emotions, behaviours to allow you to do that and live a rich life of qualities in every area of your life. Wouldn't that be awesome? I hope that's resonated with you. As I said before, if there's an area that you want a little bit of help with, please do email me. It's the same email for all the feedback. So if this resonated with you and you loved it, let me know. If there's something you'd like me to change or something you'd like me to do differently, feedback, anything I can do to improve this, I'd love you to tell me. Feedback at personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Doesn't go anywhere else, comes to me personally, and you get a personal reply just like everyone else does. Be great to have. Well, it's great to have that connection with you. I look forward to it. And I look forward to seeing you grow, stretch, living that rich life, and filling that field of learning, that integrated field of learning with more energy. So much wonderful positive energy. Everybody and this little old planet Earth could do with a little injection of this wonderful positive stuff. So until then, please share this if you would. If you could share this podcast, this episode, or just tell people there's this wonderfully great, I'm not going to big it up too much, but if you could just share it, it would be awesome, because you'll get more out of it from sharing it. You'll certainly get a lot of kudos from the people who enjoy it, because they're going to go, you were awesome to share it with me. Old Cloughie's not a bad old boy. I know this is just like a solo cast, and you might think, oh, bloody hell, he only talks. And that's what I do. But I'm doing it with, hopefully you'll see the best of intentions to help you and share. And it's helping me grow too. So until the next time, my friend, I'll see you then. Enjoy.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.